Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday Funday, and sorry you're gonna have to just put up with me and my rambly little mess because unfortunately Megan was not able to do this Sunday Funday like I told you or I said beforehand. If any, or if I remember to have been to, if I didn't, I'm sorry if I didn't. Uh, this whole weekend's actually been a bit of a toss up in the air just because it's been my brother's week or birthday. It's been his weekend. Brain's a little scattered right now. So because of that, I really haven't been able to have a lot of time with Megan and me. In fact, I wasn't even able to see Megan, and so we could film this, which is, of course, our review of Ready or Not.
Do you think this is a fucking game?
Yes, hide and seek. Remember?
He wanted to get married. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And how they just didn't even end up with a Fuji song in there, I don't know. So, real quick, those who do not know very much about Ready or Not, fair warning, I'm probably going to spoil a fair bit of this movie because some of the good and the bad things about this movie require a bit of spoilers. So, let's dig into this, and as I said, spoilers ahead. Now, those who have not seen a trailer for this movie, what even is this all about? Shorthand, this movie is about a young woman. Her name is Grace. She marries this one guy. His name is Alex. I kept wanting to call him Adam earlier because I know his name's actually Alex. But oops, I'm stupid. But yeah, she marries him, and he is part of the Ladomas family dynasty that runs this gaming group. Pretty much they're very famous for their board games. Now, that sounds like a very kind of oh, this is drama, but if you've watched trailers for it, it turns out that actually there is something a little bit more nefarious behind everything. Because whenever somebody new comes into the family, what they end up doing is they all play a game. And they have this box, I want to say Mr. LaBelle, I want to say, or Lavelle? I want to say it's LaBelle. Yeah, it's LaBelle, because in fact there's even a game they have called LaBelle's Gambit. Can't say bees today. But yes, so they have a box from Mr. LaBelle. He's supposed to be their benefactor, even though pretty much the guy who originally came across it, the first Ladomas ancestor, it was their great-grandfather back from after the Civil War, so it's been a little bit. And even then, it's obviously there's some shenanigans, is the best way to put it, simply because of how the age gaps are working. So, come across this box, and they put a blank card in it and says what game they're going to play. And usually if there's a game called Hide and Seek, for some reason that means they have to go and kill the person. The person has to hide and they have to try and stay alive. And if not, terrible things will happen to the family. At least that's what they believe. Now, that is, for long or short, that is the entirety of the film. And that is both a good and it's also a bad thing for the movie. The good thing about it is that can lead to either you're going to have a very good cat and mouse thriller, or you can make some really good dark comedy. And this movie tries to put itself in the camp of the latter. It tries to go for dark comedy more than anything. The problem with it, it's not that the dark comedy misses, because when there's some good jokes, they're really funny. They're laugh out loud funny, even though they're dark humor shit. And there's also a lot of symbolism, is a nice way to put it, in the fact of making the whole fact that, oh, rich people are only rich because they made a deal with the devil and all this sort of stuff. In fact, they're like, hail Satan, when they're trying to kill her. And with that, it's okay, well, that's, a lot of little pokes and prods and nudges and haha, I get it. But the movie's not trying to be overtly oh, I think I'm so smart with the symbolism. It's trying to purposely make fun of rich people. Now, like I said, that can lead to some good jokes. The problem, I think, with the movie, with the fact that it can either be a suspense thriller and a really good one, or it could be more of a dark comedy, sometimes it tries to go a little bit too much in the middle of the road and tries to hit both. Let's take, for example, it's like, what is one of the most well-known dark comedies around out there in terms of horror base or suspense or thriller? You can think easily Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. Those who would say the first Evil Dead was more campy than anything. Like, I still love the movie, but it is far and away, it's just a camp fest. But it's still rather fun throughout most of it. But with that, it's like the second one and the third one as well, they tend to aim a lot more towards being a lot more funny than anything. Okay, that's cool. And in fact, they're rather funny films. There's a lot of really good dark humor here and there. But there still is some obviously horrific elements that happen throughout the entire movie. Another dark comedy I can think of right off the top of my head, War of the Roses. If y'all have never seen it, it's got Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, where they just are a bitter married couple that just argue the entire time and end up killing each other just because of their own inability to just treat each other like normal humans. And it is, again, it's a play on, being a rich person and not, just accepting things for what they can be, or shows the fallacy of a person who's unwilling to let a marriage go when a marriage is obviously destroyed. There's probably a few more that I'm missing, but those are two that I really think of right away, especially War of the Roses. Simple because this does have a lot of, or ready or not in this instance, it has a lot of talking about, rich people being jerks, rich people being assholes, and kind of just stomping all over anybody who they don't care. And when there is some horror elements, or I would say gore elements is the best way to put it, there is some fairly good stuff. There's some CGI here and there that's not the greatest, but it never feels like this movie is needing the CGI. Like, the CGI is there simple because they didn't really know how to either pull off a shot really well, which isn't always the greatest way to think of it, or more importantly, it's like, we really don't have the budget to afford for all of this stuff, and or they tried it in realist, or do it in real ways, and it wasn't going to quite work. To spoil the movie a little bit, near the end, they're trying to sacrifice Grace after she's been having this cat and mouse kind of game with them the entire time, running away from them. And she, eventually they learn, it's like, oh, it's dawn, the time has not been able to, or it's too late. And then like, oh, we're still going to kill her, even though it's like dawn hits and they're all fine. And then it just all starts exploding. Now, that, of course, is used as CGI, but again, it feels more minimalistic, just the people just popping. And even then, like, when Grace is getting splattered with all their blood, it's actually, she's laughing about it, just because she's been through all this trauma. Now, like I said, that's a really horrific thing, and because these people, for lack of a better way to put it, are just horrible fucking human beings. Like, these are the exact shitheads you would think. It's like, I don't feel any sympathy towards y'all dying. And in fact, one of the characters, he pretty much says, like, yeah, we probably all should actually have anything bad that befalls us. Probably should. And he's one of the more likable characters. It's the groom's brother. His name is Daniel. Now, to kind of go actually in the story, instead of kind of piecemeal grabbing things, after the whole wedding set up and Grace learning a little bit about the family, there's a beginning of the game. That's like, takes about 10-15 minutes, and the movie's kind of hems haw there for a little bit. But then once the game actually starts, it's predictable. The biggest problem is the trailers for this entire movie gave away a lot. Like, it gave away every major kill, for lack of a better way, except for the end of the film where the entire family pops and one other character who dies. It's not because, or that's not bad because, it's like, oh, well, It's just got to show some gore here and there to try and get the gore fans in. But same instance, I think there was another way they could have reshot it and just redid a different kind of trailer that would have been a lot more effective. Not sitting here trying to judge, I'm judging purely the trailer. Because the trailer, I thought, okay, well, that looks like it could be interesting, but I feared, it's like, okay, we're not going to get as much as I want, or the movie can be a little long in the tooth and it drags itself out unnecessarily. Thankfully, it really doesn't do that. But I think because you can see what happens, and in fact, because in trailers it's like, okay, well, Grace learns about one of the maids, or sees them kill one of the maids just because, they don't give a shit, and this one girl's just coked out of her head and she doesn't even pay attention to what she's doing. That freaks Grace out, and then she learns from her husband, Alex. It's like, hey, yeah, we do this, and stuff happens. Well, from there, like I said, it follows the trailer very beat to beat. And I get, it's like the trailers are pulled from the movie itself, but in the same instance, it doesn't feel like there's any surprises. I mean, you have, this maid gets killed, and then another maid who's trying to help out the family because she realized, the family's kind of insane. I guess this is news to them. She gets killed in a kind of brutal fashion. And then another maid ends up dying, which thankfully you didn't see in the trailers, but even then it was kind of karmatic kill in the fact that, she's pretty much trying to rat out Grace and ends up the dumb waiter freaks out and kills her. And I don't know if that's leading to something else that happened at the end of the film. Because, long story short, after Grace pretty much either inadvertently or is partially or does actually help lead to the death of the help, for no better way to say it, because not that the other two are Grace's fault, but to be fair, they were killed because of circumstances that the family thrust upon her. There's also a butler who is like really into this and is fine and knows what they're gonna do. It seems he's never explained, and it seems like he's cool with what they're doing. It's like, okay, I could be paid a lot of money. I'm not going to be cool with just somebody murdering somebody. But yeah, she inadvertently pretty much leads to his death, though he, again, had it coming. And then also there is the death of probably the best character next to Grace, which is Daniel, because he's a normal guy. He tries to save her right before they're about to sacrifice her. And then, like, he gets killed thanks to his wife, who's kind of psychotic. And that's when I began to notice a big problem with the movie. Not just in the fact that I wasn't surprised by any of this. I'm like, well, that's from this part in the trailer. Oh, that's from this in the trailer. But more importantly, in the fact that it's just so predictable. There's supposed to be the setup that Daniel and Alex are really close, and they keep trying to hint that Alex is going to turn to his true nature and blah, 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 blah. And sure enough, yeah, after Daniel's dead, he decides to take up the mantle, and he's going to sacrifice Grace. And then, pretty much because they don't fulfill their end of the bargain, the ghost causes them to pop. Like I said, that's the entirety of the movie. It's an hour and a half, so it's not a long movie. That's one of the good things I can actually really say about the movie. It's one of the few good things I could say about Good Boys last week. But it's almost so brief to the point to where it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of explanation for some things that aren't as well explained. Like, there's a hint about another family that had a similar issue, that they made some kind of pact with somebody, and that's how they got to be rich, and something horrible befell them. It's like, okay, this is going to seem cheap, but do a Family Guy cutaway moment and just kind of show them trying that, and then the effects happen. Just a quick, 30 seconds, oh, hey, look, it worked. Just, I don't know, just all, heads tilt up and they start spewing their own entrails. It would be horrific, but it'd be kind of like, oh, God, that was kind of briefly weird and horrifying and unbelievable and hilarious at the same time. But here also, like I said, there's certain things that don't add up as well as they probably should. Like they keep bringing up, oh, hell, Satan. It's like, okay, is it Satan or is it actually a ghost? Because at the end of the movie, the Grace, she actually even sees the ghost of the guy, Mr. LaBelle. And she's even kind of like, oh, fuck, yeah, he's actually there. And that's one to feel like, all right, that's actually a really funny line. Like how she delivers it. And what, her reaction, especially because they're all the horrific things, and just she's like shell shocked at this point. Oh, shit, how do you know? And like I said, there is some good comedy here. There are some actual good, funny bits just because of its own predictability, because of its short running length, and leaves some bits here and there. It's like, all right, this needs a little bit more explaining. It suffers because of that. It actually suffers because of having a shortened length, and the fact that it's like there's sometimes I would like a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. Like maybe explain more about Grace. There's just kind of like ancillary things are said about her, but nothing else and nothing else about the family members other than Daniel really. Like Alex gets a little bit, but beyond that, he's more anything just hooked up to a thing, and then he just suddenly decides to turn back to the dark side. And also, another thing I have to touch on is the fact that, hey, not trying to sound like these social justice warriors, I don't give two flying shits, but I think there is a problem that they really wanted Grace to be a little bit more badass than she kind of came off in this. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, it felt more like she was just a victim of happenstance, and instead of her being more proactive and actually being able, showing her fighting every single little step, it just came to be, all right, we're just watching this poor girl get the shit beat out of her constantly. And I get it, she's not supposed to be sinking to their levels, but I think that if their story is this, it's like, hey, y'all are, not just horrible people, these rich people, but you are making somebody else turn to this level, or whatever the idea is supposed to be, it begins to feel like she's kind of dumb. Like there's times whenever, obviously, like one point, even like one of the kids, like a little kid, like maybe let's say like 12 at the oldest, he pulls a gun and shoots her, and she ends up knocking him out. But instead of like throwing him in this like thing of bodies or something like that, she just kind of knocks him out, and that's it. And it's like, okay, it's like he's also just as fucking crazy as her. It's like she's understandably gonna be morally justified in throwing him in with the bunch of other dead bodies that they have. I don't know. It's not that this movie's bad. That's actually one of the bad things to say about this. Like, it's got some good gore effects. The acting, for the most part, is pretty good. Just, I guess because Grace is kind of just there to get the Everling piss beat out of her, it begins to feel almost pointlessly overindulgent in this pretty much violence. To the point to where I think it begins to almost lose its own symbolism and its own message it wants to try and say. And also, I would be remiss in saying that the acting can be good for the most part. There is some ham here and there. Like, the dad, if you've seen the trailers where he's just a fucking game, he's up to fucking 11 almost all the time. It's almost to the point where there's not a whole lot you can take from him said very seriously. Neither here nor there. Just, it's one of those movies that by the time I got done, I was like, that was fine. And that's honestly the thing I can say about the movie. It's fine. There's nothing egregiously bad about the movie. There's nothing wonderfully good about the film. There's not a lot that you could sink your teeth into. One, because of the short running time. Not that movies have to be long. But this movie does feel like it just kind of goes by its own numbers that it already set up in the trailers. Like, well, we're going to do this. And It's like, okay, well, thanks. I'm glad that these trailers it just gave away the entire damn movie. Like, I think a good way that we could have shown Grace's like eventual like shell shockedness or anything like that. Eventually, keep going to her. Eventually going to where she does kill these people. Like realistically, she only kills one person. In again, it's in self defense, but everybody else here is trying to kill her, and yet that's the only person she ends up killing in self defense. It feels very lackluster. And that is, I think, the best thing I can say about the movie. It's kind of lackluster. It does have some good ideas. I just think it doesn't execute them quite as well as it really wants to. There is some things it does great. There is a lot of things, though, it does bad or very meh. And the movie's not a complete meh. But I feel really confident, though, in saying that this film, it's a 6. It's not the most, bland movie you can think of, or the movie that's like, it was fine, but really it's like, that's okay. It's okay. It's not great. I never need to see this again. And I think that's the worst thing, is like, this is not a really infinitely rewatchable movie, just because, again, I felt like I'd already watched it thanks to the trailers. And not only that, but her movies similar to this, I think, pull the premise off a lot better. Hell, before this, we saw a trailer for an Ice-T movie from the 90s where these rich guys, and Gary Busey, are hunting him down for sport. And it's like, alright, that movie looks like it actually took the entire premise sort of this, pretty much it's the, was it, most dangerous game idea. And one, it's run with it a little bit more seriously than most normal movies do. But still, it's like, at least it seems to still have that camp factor that's at least enjoyable. This, I don't think it has quite enough camp factor. And also, like I said, it's like, just, the lead's good, she's really good. But by the end, I just kind of was like feeling sorry for her. And it's like, I shouldn't be feeling sorry for her. I should be rooting for her. And that's the thing, I don't ever want to root for her. Yeah, I feel sorry this is happening to her, but by the end of it all, it's like, okay, yeah, she got out of it, but that's all that happened. She pretty much got out of it. She didn't fight her way or claw her way out. It's sort of like the difference between an Ellen Ripley and a fucking Sarah Connor. These are badass women who they fight, claw, and even in the original Terminator, Sarah Connor still kicked quite a bit of ass. Not as much as in T2, but that's hard to compare to. But still, you had, just badass women. Those are some of your biggest ones you can point out to. I don't think Grace is ever going to appear in that she's one of these badass women. She's going to, like I said, more than anything, the movie makes her more of a victim, less than a character in her story. And that's just, I've seen it before. That's just the worst part of it. I've seen that kind of movie before. So like I said, it's a 6. If you are absolutely curious about the film, maybe give it a shot. Maybe go watch it. If you are like, it might be interesting, check it out on Netflix when it comes on Netflix. It's not a rush out there to go get or go see in theaters. There's not a whole lot that's particularly just the best thing about it ever. And just wait on it. It's okay. That's the best thing I can say about it. It's okay. But hey, I will be back with y'all later. In fact, I'm probably going to be wearing a different shirt. Because I told y'all I'm going to go see Angels Fallen, even if I gotta go see it myself. And I'm probably going to have a review for Angels Fallen tomorrow, because it's being recorded, in fact, on Sunday. But once I see it, I will get back with y'all with my viewpoints on the film, simply because I'm curious about it, since I've really enjoyed the other 2 films. But I'll see y'all later, and until then, bye-bye, everybody.